Hi, this is Marisa Murgatroyd, founder of Live Your Message and Video Superhero Summits. I'm here with the amazing Deborah Harlow, my online business manager, who's also known as Wonder Woman.
Hello, everybody.
And this is the second edition of Tea Time with Marisa and Deb, where we give you a sneak peek inside of Live Your Message headquarters. And today what we want to share is how exactly did we put together this Video Superhero Summit. The reason why is that telesummits are kind of a dime a dozen these days, where we see them kind of propagating across the internet, and they look almost cookie cutter, like all the telesummits are the same. They've got the same kind of crappy squeeze page and the same kind of nondescript title saying what the summit is about. And that's really not the way to succeed when you're doing a telesummit. When there's so many telesummits out there and people have just limited bandwidth to be able to go to a single webinar, much less 10 webinars or 21 webinars, you've really got to make an effort to stand out and create a unique experience and a unique brand and message that just doesn't exist anywhere else. The reason why is that the top two challenges of any telesummit is getting presenters, high-profile presenters, to not just show up and give a presentation, but to participate, to mail, to engage with their audience on your behalf, and really create, a super active community. And the second challenge is getting butts and seats, getting people to actually attend that teleseminar. So we really want to focus on how we got butts and seats and how we got top-notch presenters. And the first thing that I wanted to say is you've got to start with knowing what your telesummit is about. What's the reason for the telesummit? Is it simply a list building activity? And I know there are a lot of entrepreneurs and gurus out there who teach you how to create telesummits as a way to build your list. And it's a great way to build your list if you're able to create an experience that people want to say yes to. Because it's not just about getting them on your list once, but it's about providing such an amazing experience that they want to continue to follow you for years to come, and not just unsubscribe as soon as the telesummit is over or they've seen the one presentation that they were interested in. So Deb, when we were starting the telesummit, the Video Superhero Summit, what we were really thinking about is that we wanted to create a brand, and not just a single summit, but a whole series of summits. Because if we're going to take the time to really brand something, we don't want to brand a one-off. If you look at the Live Your Message brand, if you look at any of our product brands, Message to Money or Hidden Story Power, or now Superhero Summits, each one of those takes a bit of time to develop in terms of making it look really good and have a message. So why focus all of that branding juice and just do something that's a single one-off presentation? And I think the reason why a lot of summits and telesummits look so bad is that people are doing them as a one-off for a one-time list build. And the problem with that approach is you're not really building collateral, that's longer term. And you're not necessarily engaging people in a set of relationships. And I know that you, Deborah, were part of another telesummit, Tracy Lee Jones Telejam. And Tracy had some interesting goals for that one as well that allowed her to use that one summit as kind of a launch pad for the rest of her business. And I'm wondering if you want to share her goals so you can see actually how two different summits took two different approaches and were both incredibly successful and did it in a way that was different from the normal cookie cutter approach that you see people doing all over the internet.
Sure. Actually, Tracy, when she did her Global Telejam, the Feminine Business Global Telejam, she used Google Hangout on Air. And she really kind of was the first of that scale to use it. Not too many people had been using Hangouts. In fact, half of our speakers didn't even have a Google Plus profile set up, so we had all of the back end to do. But the whole approach was to basically bring experts in talking about how to do business in a different way, in a feminine way that encompasses all aspects of our life. So you really are in the truest form connected to your message. The end result from that was that people really saw that Tracy was somebody in that area that could help coach them with what they were looking to do. And she was smart to realize that it's not just providing amazing, wonderful, free content for people to connect with. It was having a soft space, as they say, for them to land afterwards. She had a whole community built in through social media. She had a virtual coaching program with additional courses and material after the fact. She continued to nurture her list and the relationships that she had founded with the speakers through the Telejam. She was making sure that the community had a space to be able to take the knowledge that they got from the telesummit and then the now what question, that they had a space to learn, that they had a space to be nurtured and everything for that. And a lot of times we see when people ask us to be part, or ask Marisa to be part of a teleconference or a telejam, there's nothing in the back end. They want her to come forward and to teach because they know that she has a lot of information to share. And then we ask them, well, what happens with your community after the fact? And I kind of hear crickets. You know, I don't hear that, well, we have a follow-up webinar in a month afterwards, or we've got a series of free calls afterwards that say, here's how we're going to support you now that we've inspired you. And the problem is, if you don't have that in place, you're going to have those one-off blips on your list. You're going to build it, they're going to get bored, and they're either going to unsubscribe or go elsewhere. So Tracy has had great success because she had those things in place. And she also continued to nurture who she wanted to have connections with as speakers after the fact. So that was a big thing that you did with the superhero summits, is to have those things in place.
So Deb, you made a few really good points there. And the first one is that Tracy had a message. It wasn't just a telejam, but she was building this community of women all over the world.
Yes.
The Video Superhero Summit had a message as well. It was more of a playful message, but we really wanted to show the state of video marketing in the year 2013 and really gather the top tier of experts of video marketing in the country and create this really unique experience that was both fun and engaging, but also super value rich for the participants, and do it in a format that actually included video because it was the Video Superhero Summit, so we used the streaming Google Hangout on Air technology. And the other thing that you said that's really important is, I think the two biggest questions in business are so what, which is why does this matter, why should people care, why is this different, and what's next. So as you can see, both Tracy and us answer the question so what and also what's next. So once we built this community, now we've got a whole set of ongoing, trainings for them to take part in. We're doing a set of trainings after the fact that relate to video, or people who are interested in video would be interested in these trainings. So for example, just a week or two ago, we did a training with Jason Fladlin and Zane Miller on Google Hangout technology. And we've got another training at the end of July, on July 30th, with Chris Gilbertson on podcasting technology. So we're going to continue every 3 to 4 weeks to offer this ongoing training and really cultivate that community after the fact. I'm not just dumping this list into my Live Your Message email list and sending them the same exact emails because they didn't sign up for that and they wouldn't necessarily be interested in that. So we're nurturing a whole nother list, and there might be some cross-promotion, but not doing cross-promotion all the time, because you've got to be aware of what your list is interested in and sometimes segment that list to give people what they want. And also, we're building up to the next Superhero Summit, which is in November 5th through 14th, Social Media Superhero Summit. So what we're able to do is, with Video Superhero Summit, work out all the kinks in providing that great experience and build a bit of brand recognition and credibility. So when we go after Social Media Superhero Summit, which is a bigger topic that has more interest even than in video, we're going to get a lot more engagement from the start. The presenters are going to be super keen to say yes. The audience is going to be already much more engaged and ready to go because they had such a great experience on Video Superhero Summit, or they heard about Video Superhero Summit. They know that we're providing a really unique experience, not just in the brand, but in the presentations themselves. So the presentation for us, it wasn't just a list build, it was a money-making summit, but our goal was to really provide extraordinary value through every presentation. So it's not like you are sitting through 10 sales presentations, because nobody wants to sit through 10 sales presentations. Each participant really gave a huge amount of value, and then they sold at the end of the presentation. And what we did is we encouraged people to make an offer that either didn't exist anywhere else or was a special offer for the summit. So we asked all of the participants to have an offer less than $200. And once people started to say, okay, yes, I want to go deeper and I want to start exploring these trainings, most of them purchased more than one product. Some people purchased almost all of the products once they got into the mode of saying, you know what, these are great presenters, these are great offers, there's a huge amount of value here, and I do want to take this further and go deeper. And so we actually had a good number of sales throughout the presentation, but that wasn't our core goal to make a lot of money. We really wanted to create a very unique training experience that we can offer several times a year ultimately through various kinds of summits. Video Superhero Summit, Social Media Superhero Summit, Traffic Superhero Summit, Mobile Superhero Summit. you know, a lot of different ones. We've got Internet Marketing Superhero Summit, Online Business Superhero Summit, some of the summits that we've got in mind for the coming years. So we're really growing this whole training platform, and we want to do it in a way that kind of follows like the AppSumo model in a way, and that people know that we're going to sell. So it's not a shock. No one's like, oh my God, I can't believe you sold on the summit. You know, you just did a bait and switch. We're not trying to pretend like we're not selling, but we're putting value and engagement before the sale. And then even in the sale, people know that they're going to be able to get something that they can't get anywhere else. A really special offer, a great deal. It's a limited time deal, so there's incentive to buy. And we had a lot of success with that.
Well, I like what you said there. First of all, I love the AppSumo guys, so they're great. I love them. I love the sumos. But you also set the tone as the host. You were the most rock star host. You just kept it going. I was in the chat roll typing my little fingers away with my golden lasso of truth, keeping people on point. I know. It's like, speak the truth, people, speak the truth. That's a silly question. What is that? You know? No, but I mean, we had such an engaged community, and it kept building day after day. But as the host, our hostess, whoever it is doing it, what's incredibly important is setting the intention and setting the tone, so your audience knows what to expect. And like you said, it wasn't a bait or switch. We were very clear about we're providing value, we're teaching, and then we have a special product where you can explore the information more if you want to. No harm, no foul if you don't want to, but we're providing this extra stuff for you. And so every time people were joining us day in and day out for the summit or watching the replays, they heard that. You were setting the intention, you were setting the tone, they know what to expect. Versus when you get on other things where you think it's just a free, and then it's pitch, and you go, I don't want any more. So it was great because people were getting into the zone, and that's why they loved it. They knew what to expect. They knew what they were going to get. They were prepared for it. Then they were kind of like a kid in a candy store, like, oh, I don't know what to buy, and I got to watch my budget, and I've got this. And some people just said, screw the budget, I'm buying it all because it's affordable. So, yeah. But yes, I mean, I wanted to point that out because that's incredibly important. I've been on so many summits, either behind the scenes or joining them as part of the audience, where the intention and the tone and the purpose is not set. So I don't know what to expect. And then I get that queasy feeling when we're coming to the end when they're like, oh, we're going to go to the sale, and I really didn't want that. We didn't get that with the community, and for that purpose, it's because you were really setting the intention. So I just wanted to highlight that. That's incredibly important as to what the results are going to be like for your summit.
Absolutely. So at the beginning of every summit, you know, I said my name and I said why we're doing the Video Superhero Summit and what to expect over the coming days. And I let people know that not only were they going to teach you some actionable stuff, but they're going to give you an opportunity to go deeper. Then I told people how to engage with us today. I said, you know, give us a social share on the left-hand side of the screen, and please hit like and help us build this community. I said there's a comment. We were using Chat Roll at the time. It's kind of expensive, but now we're using Chat Wing, which is a lot, you know, more reasonably priced to allow for that engagement, right? So I said you can interact with us down below. You know, then we told people, you know, there's a free gift there. We had a free gift once you attend, which I recommend, but we're not going to do the same free gift next time, which was the infographics. And the reason why we're not going to do the same gift next time is even though they were really, really cool and really fun, they were a little bit hard to pull off. One, in that we had to get the systems from the presenters ahead of time. And any work that you make your presenters do, they're just not going to want to do. And they're going to take forever to get back to you because people don't want to have to go out of their way to do something new necessarily for your presentation. You want to make it not just a fun event, but as simple as possible for your presenters and not make them have to work hard. Yes.
Focus on that point, okay? What Marisa just said is golden. There's your golden ticket right there. If you invite somebody to your party and you say, by the way, when you show up, you're going to have to clean my bathroom before we can party, they're not going to come, okay? Let's be clear about the expectation as well when you're asking a speaker to come to your event. You need to be so locked and loaded to make it crystal clear what you want from them and have it be a really short list, because even with that, you're still going to have to herd the kitty cats to get that to happen. So don't ask for lots of extra information. Make sure that you've got everything super easy for them and just so they can show up and deliver what they know how to do. But yeah, don't ask somebody to your party and ask them to have chores on top of it.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to come back around to how we ask people in just a moment.
Yeah,
but let me kind of close out that thought about the infographics. So not only was it hard to get the information from people, but each one of them cost about $400 each for us to produce, and then we had to art directly.
Out of your pocket.
Yes, out of
your pocket.
Right. So that little passbook itself cost probably $4,000, if not more, to make that one thing. And we didn't get a single thank thank you from the entire community to say, thanks so much for this graphic. It was more people complaining, I can't figure out how to download this, or I missed the download, or, I can't believe I didn't see them beforehand, even though we announced them, they came late, and then we kind of got, people saying, well, I want the other ones. And so because it ended up being something where it was hard on the end of the presenters, and we didn't necessarily see gratitude or appreciation from the end of our audience, that we didn't think it made a really big difference in the event as a whole. So we're not going to do it again. And what we're going to do instead is try to figure out other ways to get people to come and be in the live presentations, because you really want people live. Not only because you're going to do a lot more sales that way, but it creates more of an event, more of a feeling, more of a community, more of a vibe, more interaction, And I recommend for sure having someone like Deborah. Her exclusive job was to man the chat and to be there helping people with technology problems, be there just telling them what to expect, posting links, reiterating key points. And that was super, super critical. And she was also tracking questions and letting me know when I was live on the line what those questions were. So when the time comes, I could ask those back to the audience. The only thing that I would to the presenters, the only thing I would do differently next time is have Deb probably prioritize the questions to put the really good ones first, because some questions are not equal necessarily.
Sure.
When you've got these top presenters and brains on the line, you don't want to ask them super kind of minute, specific technical details like, how do I record a Hangout on air? You can kind of look that up really easily on Google+. You want to ask them about the strategy and some of the things that you can't find with a couple clicks of, your keyboard and a mouse when you have access to these kinds of presenters. And having really top dialogue and Q&A at the end really enhances the experience. So I probably would in the future ask Deb to kind of organize the comments. And the way you want to approach comments at the end is first you want to ask buying questions. So if anybody's asking questions related to the product that was offered, those are the first ones to come up, because that puts everybody in the frame of, okay, this product was great and I'm interested in buying. If you immediately go to that technical question, how do I record the Hangout on air, you've dissipated a lot of that energy around wanting to go deeper and go further. And that's not about manipulation. It's about recognizing and appreciating the presenter and the value they just give, and giving the opportunity for people to really experience the true transformation of their work. So once you get through those buying questions, then you cover the kind of more strategic questions that give them an opportunity to really show the depth of their knowledge and what they're about and continue offering value. And only after those two do you get to that third level of questions, which are kind of the kind of throwaway questions that people can find the answers to fairly easily, later on. And Deb was also able to answer some of those right there live in the chat, so we didn't even have to tackle them later on.
Well, and one of those things, especially with the technology that we use, because there is that minute lag, that once the sale had been explained, the product had been explained, the offer had been shared, there was a lag before any questions came in. So it's important that you kind of get a pulse on your community to know what questions may come up based on that product, almost kind of sometimes asking questions that you knew were coming up and the nature of the questions. So to Marisa's point, if you don't have somebody manning the front line or womaning the front line, taking care of the community, you're not going to be able to focus on connecting and nurturing the conversation with your presenter. So when you're doing a telesummit of any size, almost any size I would say, you do need to have a team person who's managing that, because otherwise you get stuck in the technical aspect of communicating with the community and missing out on the key points in the presentation.
Absolutely. And actually a few people were asking us how many people were actually behind the Video Superhero Summit, and the answer is 3. So there was me, and my role as sort of host and sort of brand strategist and holding some of the vision. Deb was in charge of managing the affiliates, and I was also in charge of getting and landing the presenters. And Deb was in charge of managing the affiliates and also being the customer support, the on-site person, kind of manning the chat role and answering questions after the fact and just throughout the presentation and throughout the summit in general. And then, of course, Murray Gray, who was our superhero technical guy, yes, was in charge of setting up all the different pages, creating all the redirect links so we could have Hangouts on Air streaming live on our website, making sure we had the right GIFs and stuff at the bottom of each presentation, making sure the emails were going out. He was also in charge of the copywriting, so making sure the emails went out, and all of that was just happening in being orchestrated like clockwork. And of course, we did hire a web designer. We did hire a developer. We just did a straight HTML website to take those Photoshop files, web design files, and turn them into HTML files that people could interact with. But that was the extent of our team. Everything else we did in-house between the three of us. And of course, we actually, yes, did hire a transcriptionist. We did hire the cartoon illustrator. We did hire the infographic designer. That's about it. So the rest of it was us. And people were asking also about when we started planning the summit. So I think the idea for the summit happened in last fall, maybe October or November of 2012. And the invitations went out around Christmas time, December 2012 for 2013. And I knew that I had to get one name in the door to make it easier to get some of the other presenters, because we'd never done this summit before. We didn't have the website ready. We had nothing to show but a concept and an idea. So the question is, how do you get people super interested, especially the kind of A-list players that we had on board? So I already had a relationship with Don Crowther, who's amazing. So I knew that I could go to him first, and he would say yes, based on our relationship to being a part of this. So I got Don to say yes. And once I had the one yes, I sent out invitations to all the other presenters. And I didn't let them know these are all the confirmed presenters. I said these are the other people that we're approaching. So Don Crowther's a definite yes, and me and Matthew Peters, and these are the other people that we're approaching. And I actually me and Murray sat down one day, and we did a really cool invitation script. And we're actually going to post the audio for that script, below this Hangout on our blog. So we did a great invitation script where it was playful, it was fun, it was personalized for each individual presenter, and we actually recorded an audio. I did an audio invitation for every single presenter saying why I wanted them to come, and then what the whole summit was about, who was on it, what they'd be talking about, how we'd end up promoting, what the commitment was, and at the end there was like superhero theme song music as well. So like right when the invitation comes. So all right.
They were really cool invitations. They were really cool, yes.
Yeah, and most people send this kind of, 2-paragraph email with maybe a PDF attachment, and a lot of people don't have time to read all that. So instead I had them sit through a 3-minute audio that was custom to them. And
fun.
Really, yeah, and a lot of fun as well.
It was an invitation. Let's think about this. You're inviting someone to collaborate with you. You can be content rich and still full of purpose, but have fun. The rest of the job can be work, but your invitation, that should be where you really get their attention to say, come have fun with us. Let's go create something new that people want to learn about.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I think it was super easy for me to get people involved is we actually created the cartoons for each person too before we approached them. So we said, here's what your cartoon looks like. And so this is what you look like as a superhero if you choose to participate. Here's the audio file, invitation. We also had a PDF attachment for people who wanted to reference it later. And then we made it super easy for them to submit their details to us by having kind of intake form pages. So it did take still, I don't think we locked the presenter roster until March. It took us like over 3 months to lock that roster. And part of the reason why is some people who are kind of A players are not that responsive on email, partly because they're focused on doing the work that they do. They're super busy. And,
super busy.
We didn't have a relationship with all of them. For some of the bigger ones like Andy Jenkins, we got personal referrals to Andy, so someone reached out to them on our behalf. Other people we just reached out to on our own. Some of them were yeses and some of them were nos, and that's the nature of thing. But sometimes getting like the yes or the no to begin with takes some time. So at what point do you offer that spot to somebody else? And that's kind of a delicate balance. Like we were holding out for top tier presenters, and then last minute I think we filled a couple of spots because we didn't get the answers from some super high-level people, which is totally fine, because I have to say you want someone who's fully on board, who's going to promote, who's going to show up, more than you want the top-level player who just doesn't care about your event. So it's great to get them, but don't hinge your whole event on a yes by a top-level player, because if they're not really participating, it's not necessarily worth it. We had a great set of presenters, and we're super fortunate for that. But
I want to reinforce that for a quick second, because if you go for just all big names and they're not really invested in being your collaborative partner in it, you're not going to have the end result that you were hoping for. Whether it be building your list, gaining notoriety as being an expert in your field, making sales, whatever it is you're trying to establish with the purpose of your telesummit. If your speakers aren't fully engaged, where they're super passionate about the message, they're going to go out there and market on behalf of the summit and on behalf of you and making sure that their tribe is coming over. You're just going to have this big name show up and present, and maybe part of their list shows up and it falls flat. And then all of that love, energy, and effort that you put into it kind of feels for naught, and then you can get discouraged about doing a telesummit. So while, yes, it is good to have big names because they have bigger lists and bigger exposure, and that's how we all grow, exponentially being connected, you have to have people who are excited and invested in the success of what you are collaboratively creating together. So that was critical, because you can have people who don't, you're constantly having to bug them to go do something, and then it just throws off the bigger picture success.
Absolutely, and we definitely had a few people who said yes, but they weren't fully engaged and fully committed to being a part of the presentation. And then it was a little bit like herding cats, you know what I mean? Where trying to get every piece of information and that engagement, that participation throughout. And, you know, that's good to know. So the other thing that I realized is that I didn't play my role as a cheerleader on every single call. For example, a few weeks before the actual Hangouts happened, we set up kind of pre-Hangouts with each presenter, so I could show them how to work the technology, make sure everything was looking good on their end, answer any questions, get to know them a little bit, and record some pre-launch content to really give the tribe, to kind of prime the pump and get them excited about attending these presentations. And so that was really, really super helpful. And you know, I recommend doing that because a lot can go wrong. You know, we did still, you know, start each summit, like each Hangout, about 30 minutes before we went live to debug and test, and sometimes there were technical problems because this is emerging technology that changes all the time. So that really, really helped to have that additional contact, and it helps to let people know in advance that you're going to want to do something like that. So they expect it, they know what to expect, and they were thankful because everybody wants to show up and look good and have it work properly and not just go down at the end of the summit. So that was super, super invaluable as well. And because we were doing these as preview webinars that did end in a sale, one thing I recognized is that some people were selling new products, and some people just weren't as confident selling on a webinar. So there were a handful of presenters who did awesome, just did super, super well, and some presenters who didn't do as well. So if part of the requirement is selling, then you want to choose participants who know how to sell on a webinar. And that's actually a really unique skill set because it's an entirely different thing to give value and to train and to be loved by the audience than it is to make sales. And the difference between, you know, the top sellers and the lower sellers was huge. I mean, for a difference between like $2,000 and $30,000.
Right.
So, you know, if you want to make this a money-making event, you know, you might want to use that as a criteria of finding people who can really sell as well. And who are still going to give presentations, and people are going to love the presentations, but they were able to sell as well. And believe it or not, the higher-end products, the $200 products, the $197 products, did better than the lower-end products that were $100 and less. And all the products that were specials, you know, that weren't being offered outside of the Video Superhero Summit in that format or that price point, did the best. So that's kind of, you know, what worked super, super well. And then, of course, go ahead.
I wanted to add one thing really quickly about what you said about setting the expectations about if your purpose is to have sales. In general, just take that one level higher. What are your expectations from the summit? And be really clear. So it's really important that you have extra promotion done by your presenters because it's list building and you're trying to really get out there. Make sure that those people are really on board and okay with that. And if it's that the expectation is that each person as a presenter has a really wonderful product and that they're going to sell, make sure you know, are they good at selling? Is this the first time that they've pitched this product? Have they actually done it 1,000 times before and they already know what they're doing and people already love it? Set those expectations, do your homework, do your research, because the whole reason I'm doing a telesummit is to get out there in a big way. You don't want to kind of half-ass it and then find out after the fact that you've ruined some opportunities that could have turned into something good if you would have prepared yourself. There's a lot of preparation that goes into a telesummit that people don't talk about.
Absolutely. And then if there is a presenter that people aren't as excited about, they're going to let you know in the chat and in the comments.
Oh, yes. I saw plenty of comments of feedback from good to bad and halfway in between.
Yeah, so when you have that kind of chat technology too, the downside is that people can say whatever they want, and they will say whatever they want because we're kind of living in this age where we hide behind our avatars and we feel like we're, you know, able to say anything that we want, good or bad, and just make fun of things. And,
Yeah.
that's kind of part of it.
The social filters are slightly broken in the social media world because I'm not in front of the person, so I think somehow I'm going to be able to get away with saying something a little snarky or, social filters don't stop whether you're virtual or not. Think about what you're saying, because there is another person of flesh and blood and heart on the other end reading or listening to your message.
Absolutely. So that's kind of how we ran the actual events. And you also want to make it super clear and communicate with your affiliates and your presenters as much as possible so they know the promotional schedule, and of course also your audience. So we were sending 2 emails a day, letting them know at the beginning of the day, here's the presentation for the day and what you're going to get out of it, and at the end of the day, here's the replay and a link to the offer. So we had to communicate just multiple times a day, and still people weren't necessarily getting our emails because it would go into spam, thank you Infusionsoft, or it would go into, just people not even noticing it because it's all happening the same day and they're not opening the emails. Right. So make it super clear to everybody, every chance that you can, what the expectations are and how they can kind of engage and attend, throughout the event. So you get that kind of vibrant setting of a lot of people on live, and we were getting several hundred people on for every single session, which was great for our first summit, which ended up being, I think, a huge success. Of course, we're going to make it an even bigger success the next time around because that's how we roll, and we learned some good lessons, and we're going to do it even better. And we're really committed to giving value in the interim between Video Superhero Summit and Social Media Superhero Summit. So we did want to say that if any of you have any topics that you really want to learn about or any presenters that you'd really love to see in our format, just shoot us an email. Shoot an email to support@liveyourmessage.com, and we'll take care of it. And we'll do our best to see if that person's interested and if it's aligned with kind of where we're going with the summit. So we really want to give you what you want and make it super fun, of course, turning people into superheroes and all of that. And so definitely shoot us a note if there's somebody that you want to see or a topic that you want to learn about, and we might just be able to bring them in front of the audience and really make that happen for you.
Exactly. And I mean, the whole point of these things is to not only be informational, but to have fun as you're learning and growing your business and growing your tribe and getting out there in a big way. And the branding of this was to basically be able to take your message, again, Marisa's of Live Your Message, and share it in different ways. What are the different ways that you can get your message out there through technology? So why not have fun with it? And so again, that's the whole purpose of everything we're doing and building and creating out here for you, is that you can connect with your tribe in the way that you're most meant to.
Absolutely. And spending that money on the branding, on the logo, on the cartoon characters, on the website was super worthwhile, because when you go to one of those chintzy sites where you've got the pictures of 20 people on them and it looks just generic, and
they're stretched and pixelated.
Yeah, and every photo looks different, and it just is a reflection on the type of event that you're going to put on. And if you're doing like 20 some hours of content, who's going to come if that first page, that first impression looks really bad? And so we made sure that every single thing that we sent out, from the look of those pages to the tone of those emails, was just top notch. I mean, we had a comedy writer from England like making those backstories of each of the superhero for them to be really fun, so people would want to continue to open emails from us day after day. And it's those little touches that make you distinct in the marketplace, that get you the yeses from the big names, and also that get the butts in the seats of people who want to attend, and people who send us these reams of thank you notes after the fact of how much they learned and how excited they were. Right. So that's really what we did. And we're going to bring this chat to an end. Is there anything else that you've got to say, Deb?
I just, telesummits are an absolutely amazing way, whether they be audio or video or a combination of in between, to really get out there and share your message with the world. And just think about why you're doing it. Your purpose is to be able to connect with an audience, or to make a difference, or to be known as an expert, or to partner with people you've always wanted to partner with. So if you think about your intention and your purpose, make sure that you put the energy and thought behind it, and just create a great experience. And that, whether you have a $30,000 budget or a $1,000 budget, will show up, because you're going to take the time to really be effective with everything you're creating, and your audience will respond to it. And thinking about that when you're building a business helps, because you use your time effectively.
Absolutely. And it was incredible, incredible positioning both for me, for Live Your Message, and also for the Superhero Summits brand. So we got a lot of great mileage out of this event. And since I put it on, I'm getting like 2 to 3 invites a week from other people who want me
A
to be
lot.
part of their summits or be in their magazine. And the vast majority of people are approaching me and just saying, hey, will you produce content for us and then send a solo email and promote it? And I'm like, no, I can't, because I have a limited number of solo emails that I can send to my list that aren't value emails or promotions for my own products or promotions to my big partners' products who are helping to promote me to their lists. So if I've got maybe a couple of those a year, why am I going to give it to you? And go into your summit thinking about that too. Why would a presenter say yes? Why would they give their valuable solo emails, the attention of their list, the kind of goodwill that they've built up over time to you? Because that's super, super important question to be able to answer. It's that so what factor. So what? Why are they going to participate, and why are people going to come? And then what next? Once you've got this audience, how are you going to continue to nurture it, to give value to it, to remarket to it, to kind of take it to that next level, whether it's integrating it into your current business or doing additional events after the fact? So if you answer those questions, so what and what next, and then create an event that's really fun, really memorable, really well positioned and messaged both visually and through the language, you're going to have something that's super, super irresistible. And remember to make it easy to participate for everybody involved. Then you've got something. So that's what we did, and I'm so glad that you were part of it and that you enjoyed it. And I hope that this tea time showed you something behind the scenes or triggered an idea for you on how to run your next summit, because nothing positions you better, or few things position you better than a live event, than a summit, than a book promotion, than one of these big things where you're putting yourself out there as an expert, as a thought leader, as someone to pay attention to. So really keep that in mind for your next event, and thanks so much for coming out. And shoot us again an email if there's any topics that you want to know about for an ongoing Superhero Summit training, or for social media superhero summits in November, or something that you want to hear about for our next tea time with Marisa and Deb, because we'd love to answer your questions, and we'd love to bring you training that you actually want to hear and take part in. So thanks so much. Go out there and live your message.